Meanwhile, indications of any peace between the Senate and the executive arm of government may have been thwarted, as of course the acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Mr. Ibrahim Magu, or risk the non-consideration of any executive nomination. The lawmakers took the decision following an executive request forwarded by acting president Yemi Osinbajo, seeking the confirmation of the nominee for the position of Director General of the National Lottery Regulatory Commission, Mr. Lanre Akinola. Joining us now via Skype to talk about this is public and, of course, political commentator Lanre Akinola. Thank you very much indeed for joining us this time. Now, help us put this in bird's eye view. What exactly does the Constitution say as to the powers of the Senate vis-a-vis Section 171 of the 1999 Constitution as it deals with nominations?
Well, thank you so much. First and foremost, I'm not a legal scholar, but having said that, I've also listened to different arguments from those who are supposed to know, legal scholars, and it does appear to me that Section 171 is being interpreted by the two parties differently. And in a situation like this, you will need the court to help to interpret the meaning and the spirit of that section of the law. But as it were, this Section 171 is not just an inclusion into our Constitution. It's been in the Constitution since the commencement of this current Constitution that we run now. It therefore becomes something that should bother us, that why is it now that the National Assembly and the presidency or the executive are actually at loggerheads over this section of the Constitution. So it suggests that there is more to it than the section of the Constitution itself. And it gives one for me, it gives me some mixed feeling. It is good that the National Assembly is not a rubber stamp to the executive, but again, in doing that, they should also be seen to be matured and responsible in their approach. Same for the executive.
Let's take a look at what seems to be or what is perceived as the genesis of this issue, which is the acting president averring that the National Assembly has no, the EFCC boss can be confirmed without the stamp of the National Assembly. Did the acting president err in making such an assertion?
Yeah, first and foremost, we must concede to the fact that the acting president is a very senior legal person, is a professor of law. I mean, I concede that to him, that he should not make frivolous statements. He must have read the law and the provisions and then be able to interpret it properly. But even having said that, if we cast our mind back to the time of President Obasanjo, you remember we had similar case. I can't remember a specific position. But what happens is that by law, that person can continue in office and the executive can also extend his tenure by another 6 months. I also don't know what the provision of the law says about veto. I know that also the presidency can veto some decisions. So again, like I said, I'm not a legal person, but again, it will be very, very irresponsible of the acting president as a professor of law to misinterpret the law in this case. So for me, I want to side on his side, hoping that he has done due diligence to the law. And for me, again, when we look at the sensibilities and the preambles, why Magu? What has Magu done wrong? Who is Magu? Who are the people in the National Assembly fighting against Magu? Again, it all boils down to the court of popular judgment. Popular judgment. What does the people outside, people like you and I, what is our perception of the attitude of the National Assembly and the executive vis-a-vis this issue of Magu and some other matters?
All right. Now, having in mind the regular saying that when two elephants fight, it is the grass that will suffer. What impact do you think that this back and forth, between the legislature and the executive will have on governance in general?
Well, for me, it will unnecessarily overeat the polity. But again, let us also, come to the reality of it. This is the beauty of politics. The way I see politics as a game, all right? Like two teams fighting for supremacy on the field of play. There will be different schemes, different tactics, provided those schemes and tactics are guided by the rules of the game. Now, these two players, as it were, we are the spectators, all right? And what we are watching is, are they living by the rules of the game? At the end of the day, even the public, some will support the National Assembly and some will support the executive. But at the end of the day, the two parties must always have at the back of their mind, they are not in position to protect their personal interest. They are in position to protect the collective interest of the nation called Nigeria. And at the end of the day, we people should also open our eyes and open our minds also to follow the discussion and follow the trends and see, because another election will come very soon. Because the time they waste in discussing matters that could be dispensed with in one day, and then they spend 3 months on it when we have critical issues waiting to be attended to, gives one a lot of concern. And again, people will also ask you, EU must go to equity, must go with a clean hand. You understand? Who are the people who say they are fighting for integrity, they are fighting for the rule of law? Are they people who have integrity themselves? Are they people who obey the rule? So these are critical questions that the public will keep asking.
Public Affairs Analyst Lanre Akinola, thank you for your time.